Welcome everybody. Really excited for this presentation today. Going to give it a few, about a minute, just to let people join in. If you can, put in the chat where you're joining us from. I'm recording live right now from New Jersey, so I don't know if we have anyone from New Jersey out there. Throughout the presentation, feel free to use the chat to make any comments. And if you have any questions, there's the Q&A section. So that's gonna be separate from the chat. So I see everyone commenting. So I appreciate all the activity. All right, welcome everybody. So thanks for joining us today. This presentation is hosted by Financial Sense, and it's going to be the 7-step client experience that keeps firms organized and clients happy. I'm really excited to share it with you. So I'm going to jump right into it and just start by introducing myself. My name's Nick Boscia, and a little bit of background about me is I inherited my family accounting firm that my dad started in 1975, and it's relevant for this conversation and this webinar because now I'm the managing partner at Boscia and Boscia PC. But it's been a long journey going from an old school legacy firm to having our streamlined workflows that we're using today. I also like to share that I'm also on the ADP advisory board member, and I'm also on the Intuit Tax Council, two boards where I'm actively involved in connecting with like-minded individuals in the industry and just figuring out ways we could push forward the accounting industry, help more clients, and just overall have a better experience in our awesome industry, which I love. A little bit more about me is I'm also known as the Balanced CPA. And really, my goal and my passion is to share the things that I've learned over the years to streamline my firm, improve the client experience. And then, really, what it's all about is running our firms is to have a more balanced and fulfilled life. So, hopefully, it's something that excites you out there. It's been a journey for me. So, I'm going to share it along the whole presentation. And outside of that, I'm also a passionate world traveler. So I really want to build a firm that allows me to take time off, explore the world, and do the things I really love. So whether you like to travel or not, hopefully streamlining your workflow and improving your business is going to allow you to do the things you love. So maybe post in the chat some of the things that you're really passionate about and you'd like to be doing more in the future. So let's get right into the presentation. Why does all this mattered? I like sharing this picture. I actually went back and found it. This is a picture of me in 2016 when I was still working with my father. I like to just kind of show because basically what I'm going to share here isn't going to be just theory. These are things that I've actually done in my firm to modernize it and really give our clients and our team a much better experience. I would say over the years, we've gotten more efficient, the team has a better experience, and the clients love working with us more than they did in the past. And I'm not saying any of this was easy. I had to wear a suit and tie every single day. You see my workflow system in the back of that picture. There was literally a sheet of paper. I would be embarrassed to show you that years ago, but obviously I'm going to show you how things have drastically changed. And I only share that because wherever you are in your journey of modernizing your firm and improving your workflows, I was probably at the most antiquated system and we really modernized. I'm really excited that you could do it too. And hopefully you take some key takeaways from the presentation. And again, this will work for any firm, whether you haven't even started your firm or like me, you're inheriting an old school firm that might have outdated systems. It's a little bit harder, but if you're starting from scratch, knowing having a good process implemented from the beginning is really, really helpful. Actually, before I go to this slide, I wanted to launch a quick poll and just wanted to get an idea where your firm is currently in its workflow journey. So you see the few options here. Are you just starting to streamline your workflows? You made some changes, but you're still figuring it out. You have a defined system, but it's not consistent. Your workflows are dialed in and running really well, and maybe you're just here to learn and you're not currently running a firm. So I'm going to leave this up for about a minute just to kind of gauge the audience to see where everyone's at. There's going to be something for everyone, whether you have a really great workflow already implemented, maybe we'll just fine tune it, or you're just getting started, you don't even know where to start. So thanks for your participation, it is helpful. All right. And I say the majority is split, but I'm going to close the poll and get back into the presentation. So when I go to accounting conferences and talk with other accountants in the industry, I realize like we a lot of us have similar pain points in our firms. And I'm going to go through some of the ones that our firm had. Definitely was paper overload. So until we started getting our paper files into an electronic system, we were just completely bogged down with administrative work, scanning documents. It slowed down our processes, but in the moment, we didn't really realize how inefficient using paper is. So I don't know. Feel free to comment in the chat if you are fully paperless. That's awesome. If you're still using a lot of paper, that's going to be a big part of streamlining your workflow is to eliminate that paper and hopefully to get 100% digital. Because once you have an electronic onboarding system, which we're going to get into in step one, it really slows down having to do manual follow-ups when you're dealing with paper and you're not using electronic systems. Our firm for at first we had all of our client files in physical paper folders, so we were literally every tax season we were going through drawers, going through alphabetized folders trying to find our clients work. Obviously you can imagine that wasted a ton of time, especially if someone sorted something incorrectly. I'm going to go into solutions to those problems we had wasting a ton. And then follow-ups with clients is always a huge pain point for firms because we can only do as much as the clients give us. If we don't get the data or the information, there's really no way to move forward in an efficient way. Another big pain point I would say is scope creep. I know we had clients constantly getting a lot more services than they originally signed up for. So making it clear what services you're offering to your clients, I think is a really important. And we're going to dive deep into that because I was doing an insane amount of free work for clients. That was kind of the firm, our legacy firm. That was the model. If you were a client, call us with unlimited calls. We'll help you with this. We'll help you with that. We were doing things that have nothing to do with tax or bookkeeping or accounting, and we were just a one-stop shop. And we had to really identify that that wasn't a scalable model and just stay in our lane. Last pain point, obviously these are just four. I'm sure we all know there's a lot of different pain points, but I think these are some major ones. Is just missed deadlines. We all know there's so many different deadlines in our world, whether it's bookkeeping deadlines, sales tax deadlines, 1040 filing dates. Obviously, we just passed the S corp and partnership filing deadline yesterday. There's just so much to know, and as usually as the owner or whatever level you are, you typically know the deadlines, but sometimes it's not clear to your whole team all the different deadlines and all the different deadlines for your clients. So I'm gonna go into how we now solve that pain point because when you miss a deadline, you have frustrated clients. When everyone's bringing their stuff last minute to you, it frustrates your team because they're getting overwhelmed. So I think that these are some of the really big pain points that I see across the board. I've definitely dealt with them. Still have a lot of pain points, but we're going to get through how we eliminate as many as we possibly can. So before our workflow transformation, as I mentioned, the pain points, missed deadlines, we had disorganized folders, we had manual processes, no way to track when clients dropped off physical documents, and we were constantly following up with clients. And one of the big pain points was no one we had no clear division of responsibility, so no one really knew who was working on what client. So that would always be a huge pain point. We have a client come in and then I'm like, oh, I think my team member's working on it, but they think I'm working on it. So that would cause the work to fall through the cracks. No one's working on it, and then we miss the deadline. So I don't know if anyone could relate, if that's ever happened to you because you thought someone else was doing the work for you. All these pain points made me basically realize that our firm wasn't scalable. In the beginning, what we did was get more clients, which was awesome, but we just simply worked more hours. There was so much manual work that we eventually realized we could automate, and we had an awesome team, but our system was broken. We were so busy doing manual processes. And once I identified the pain points and how we could resolve them, it allowed us to become so much more efficient and alleviate a lot of administrative time. And those were really some of the big changes that those pain points caused the realization, which led to the shift. So we almost needed that pain to say something has to change. And we're going to go deep into all of this, but we introduced Smart Vault for document collection and having a centralized system. No more going through filing cabinets. No more having some folders on our server and some folders over here and some files over here. Everything lives in one place, so that saves a ton of administrative time. No, the team never has to follow up with me. Hey, how do I find John Smith's folder? Everyone knows exactly where to get the files. And it also explains exactly how the clients get the files to us and where they go. Using financial sense to make sure all of our tasks and projects are clearly defined and everyone knows exactly who needs to work on what projects. And enforcing a no payment, no work rule that we did this actually this past year. So some of the things I'm talking about isn't things I've been doing for 10 years. Some of them only maybe 1 or 2 years, but making the change has been a massive improvement to our firm. And that all of these things is what led me to build the 7 step workflow that we're going to go through. So then quickly before we get into the step one, the reason why this framework works is because it's really built so for clarity. There's nothing more frustrating when people don't know what to do, who is assigned to what tasks, and we automate as much as we possibly can. And then there's clear accountability and who has to work on what projects. This is really a win-win for everyone because now the team is aligned and then the clients are informed. So the clients always know when the deadlines are, and the team always knows what their deadlines are. And this framework, I'm going to talk primarily about taxes, just because I would say that's the majority of what our firm does. We're primarily a tax firm, but we also do bookkeeping and we also do advisory work. But this framework is going to be scalable across all of those different service lines. So if you're just doing one or the other, this is still going to be, if you only do bookkeeping, this is still going to be relevant to you. You just have to tweak that instead of as we go through the tax, you do the same process with bookkeeping. And it's going to eliminate the guesswork so everyone knows exactly what to do. And that's where a lot of time typically gets wasted in an accounting firm. So, step one, I would say that the majority of, I think the most important step of the whole 7 step process really is step one, which is the client intake and that initial touch point with your clients. I didn't realize that till too late because were had a business model that was take every client in any way possible. But you started realizing that that's not scalable. So the more we could define our workflow and be specific with exactly how we want our clients and our team to interact, that is going to start saving you an amazing amount of time. And I'm really excited to share my process. And again, this is just what works for me. I really like it. And you might have a process that works better for you, but it's always good to learn from other people to see what you can learn because no one has a picture perfect model. But I think this is a really good workflow. An example of why I like this initial touch point is we have an email first policy. Just so we have a clear written record of that initial interaction, what we do is we ask every client to upload to email us directly, regardless if they call us on the phone. Even if I'm out in public and I meet someone like, hey Nick, would you mind helping me with my taxes or helping me with my bookkeeping? First thing I say now is, yeah, no problem. The way we start all of our new clients is just shoot me over an email. Whatever they say, I in the screenshot here, if you could read it, it's kind of small, but basically it says, hey, nice to meet you. And it talks about our actual workflow. So from step one, every new client knows exactly how our firm works. And before we move forward with an introductory call, is they will have to upload their tax return to Smart Vault. And the Smart Vault folder is created instantly. What I do, I copy one of my team members, they create the Smart Vault folder and invite them quickly. And sorry, I'm just checking the Q&A while we're presenting. But so now that Smart Vault folder is created, it has a lot of benefits for starting my process this way because the most important part of our workflow is that a client is willing and able to use the technology that we're implementing. because it's not super helpful if you have Smart Vault or use Financial Sense or all these other tools, and the clients can't use it with you, and then you're kind of at a standstill. So step one, new client uploads their tax return into Smart Vault. I get a notification that they uploaded, and then I will reach out to them to have that intro meeting. In the past, I used to take every new client, talk to them on the phone. I'd have no record of the conversation. Where now I do a Teams meeting and I record the conversation. They know it's being recorded. I use Otter and it's going to audio transcribe that. So now I have the record, maybe any quotes I have, all saved on that intro call. In Smart Vault, I save the audio transcript. So I have all those notes from that first meeting. And then I also I'm able to review their tax return in 2 minutes. How often do we talk to a new client and they explain their tax situation and you see the tax return and what they explain is nothing of what their actual what their actual tax return is. They don't know that they're an S corp, they don't know they're a partnership. So that's why I really like just getting the tax return up front, and it makes that first touch point with the client so much more high value. You could almost go there delivering advice right from the get-go, and that actually allows us to land a lot more new clients, and they just have a really great experience from the beginning. After so now we have that initial meeting. I forgot to mention that one thing in this initial email that I have, there's a link, and we actually have a video of what the process is like working with Basha and Basha. So it actually talks about a lot of these steps in our process. So from the get go, the client watches a 2 minute video and they already understand how to book appointments, how we're going to deliver their documents to us, a lot of the stuff that we're going to go through in this presentation. But from step one, the client knows. And if a client maybe isn't a good fit, they know right off the bat, hey, I don't want to use an electronic portal. I'm an in-person type of client, or I want to be on the phone. And then you let them know right up front, this is how our firm likes to operate. So I think this is a really great onboarding method, and having everyone through the exact same system, no one falls through the cracks. And I think that's one of the most important things, because there's nothing more frustrating than you get a great client calls you on the phone, he's a perfect fit, and then maybe you type their email address wrong, or you can't get back in touch with them, or you forget the quote you gave them. So having this type of process eliminates any guesswork or anything falling through the cracks. Think I covered basically everything on that initial touch point. And again, it's great really having that onboarding process and that initial touch defined. It's a bit more difficult changing an old school client who might not want to get on board with your new systems, but we're just going to go with this for the example of this presentation. So now we have that initial call, we get the quote, we send what we do is next step is sending out the engagement letter and getting that agreement signed. So the client says, Nick, everything sounds great. They get their agreement. We have an automated billing tool, and you could actually do this directly through Financial Sense. Our firm, we implemented our billing system before Financial Sense implemented their invoicing system. But so if you don't want multiple tools, I would check out Financial Sense's tool. But the way we have it operate is we have a no payment, no work policy. And it works really important with our workflow because we don't move forward until that agreement's signed. And once that agreement's signed, they automatically sign the agreement. They select which services they want. Do they want just tax prep? Do they want tax notice management? Do they want advisory services? Are they looking for bookkeeping? Are they looking for C corp return? And if you see in the screenshot here, you see all the different services. That's just a short list, but all the different services our firms offer. So now if a client needs something else, they would say, hey, Nick, I see this service that I might need isn't on there. Oh, we don't offer that, or we can refer you out, or we do that service. We'll modify the agreement. So you're being really clear right up front with these new clients, even existing clients. We got everyone on board onto our automated billing system. And it's really powerful because there's no more back and forth, there's no more questions. And we send all of our agreements out in advance of tax season or in advance of starting bookkeeping for any of our clients. And this is a great way to avoid scope creep, which I mentioned earlier in the presentation. Because how often are we doing work that we aren't getting paid for? And It ends up becoming a bit frustrating because your team is trying to go above and beyond to help, and they're doing services that we're not getting paid for. And that's where we lose a lot of time. Once those agreements get signed, the best part is that our the agreement gets signed and Financial Sense automatically creates a project for that client. So in the screenshot it shows mapping the services to Financial Sense. So we have different templates built out for different projects. So the steps for a 1040 return is a little bit different than an S corp return, and a little bit different from a bookkeeping project. So once those agreements are signed, it automatically maps into Financial Sense and creates the project for that client. So now the team has clearly knows what project to work on when they get signed. Obviously, we have to make sure we get the documents, but that's going to be in step three. And again, sorry if you're asking stuff in the Q and A in the chat. I'm going to address anything at the end of the presentation just so I don't get sidetracked. But the so step three, we get the agreement signed, we get paid, the project gets created in Financial Sense, so we know that we have to work on a 1040, for example, for this new client that we onboarded. But we all know we can't really move forward until we collect the documents. And the good part is we already know from the onboarding, I already know that new client knows how to use Smart Vault because they've already uploaded their prior year's tax return. And they already know that we have a digital intake policy. So now we're reducing the administrative time on the team, scanning documents. I don't think many team members love spending hours and hours scanning and moving files and dragging them into the specific folders. We're basically offloading some of our work, delegating some of our work, we should say, to the client. And what they're doing is they're organizing their documents directly in the folders, exactly where we know that they live. And later in the presentations, I'm actually show you a screenshot of Smart Vault if you have never seen it. And then after so we as the clients upload their documents, and then a big part of our process is getting the organizers into Smart Vault. So the really cool part with Smart Vault that was a game changer for our firm is through our tax software, everything syncs directly to Smart Vault. So if we get 200 new clients in the tax season, those folders will be automatically created in each folder. Sorry, I was just reading another question. I'll stop getting sidetracked. But anyway, the folders get automatically created, so there's no confusion. In the past, when we were manually creating folders, we might have a typo, we might have forget that it's updated now. It's a single return into a joint return. So Smart Vault's going to automatically sync with the tax software, which is really valuable. And then our tax software, we could print all of our organizers directly into Smart Vault. And we could do that in a one bulk print. So what we do, like we do 1,800 returns. So we do a lot of returns, and we have a 7-person team. So being efficient is really important to allow us to grow. When we first started, we were doing about 600 clients, and now we're doing 1,800. So it's been a big shift, and this is one of the big changes. So being able to select all of our clients at the beginning of tax season, print all of their organizers. And when I say print, it's really uploading it directly to Smart Vault. And then all of our clients know exactly where to get their organizer. Reduces a ton of manual time and administrative time. And we're not mailing out any organizers, that's for sure. One thing I did note on here that I just wanted to share if it's something that's you're interested in, if you're already using Smart Vault possibly, one of the new features that they're coming out with, I don't think it's fully rolled out yet, but I know it's in the beta stage, but they're doing a it's called Smart Request AI, and it's actually going to be a tool to help make completing the organizers a bit easier for the clients. So that's something that's definitely on our firm's radar, because right now we have like a static PDF that gets uploaded. So sometimes we don't always get all of our clients completing the organizer, even though it's highly recommended. Sometimes it's just not always easy to get the clients to do everything we want of them. But anyway, we move forward as we see fit. And then last point I wanted to mention on here, when the agreement gets signed, we try to automate as much as we can. When the agreement gets signed, the project gets created in Financial Sense, and we have an automation built in that shoots them a reminder. Just because sometimes clients, especially if it's a once a year type of task, clients are like, I don't remember what was that website where the organizer lives. I don't remember. So we shoot a little note and it basically just says, hey, just a reminder, when you can complete the return organizer, it lives in Smart Vault. So that's just a little simple automation that automatically gets sent out, just reminding the client to complete the organizer. So our goal is to get them obviously completed as we're doing document collection. On to step four. Now we getting the documents. Now it's on to preparing the return. I wanted to show you an actual screenshot of Financial Sense. If you've never seen it before, I'm going to show a blown up version of this on the next slide. But it basically what it's going to do, as you see, these projects again are auto created upon signing the agreement and paying. And the projects automatically are going to trigger a task list. And it shows exactly what tasks have to get done for each individual project. And the reason why this is so valuable, we're only showing one example of an individual tax return, but now it's a repeatable process. Most of the things we do in our work is repeatable. So why reinvent the wheel if you could have a tool that automatically defines what needs to get done? And you have, depending on how big your team is, we need to know who's working on what projects, who's working on which clients. So I think it's really helpful to use a tool like this. The picture I shared in the beginning was me with my Excel printed out checklist that I was highlighting, and that was my workflow system. And we still got the job done, but not efficiently. Now, with Financial Sense, you see exactly who's working on what, if any of the team is getting stuck, if someone has too much work on their plate, or maybe someone has availability to help out another team member, all that stuff's visible in Financial Sense. And obviously, the defined workflow stages. We all know that you can't do the second review until the return's prepared. And then it just all of this is basically just having accountability on who's working on what, and it balances the workload across the team, which I mentioned. And I'm going to just show you the visual status tracking, and I'll just show you into the next screen to show you like an upfront picture. But here's that same exact workflow. Obviously, step one is where this project gets created, but we really can't do anything until we receive the tax return documents. And once we check that off, now the project automatically gets assigned to the next team member who's in charge of preparing. Maybe they're the same person. Maybe in this situation, they're not the same person. Maybe we have an admin noting that this client Bill Gates uploaded his tax return documents, and then it shows exactly how to prepare the return. Not that I have to mention this, I'm sure everyone knows the process, but we break it out. It's really not for you and I to understand the process of doing a tax return. This is really valuable if you have an intern assisting, or maybe if you have a new hire who isn't 100% sure of what the workflow is, knowing, hey, review the prior year's return before you move forward. Verify and organize all the data, making sure we have everything we need, enter the data, and then checking the diagnostics. I'm going to go through this workflow and show kind of how it works within our firm. And actually wanted to share this one screenshot as well. I mentioned this before, but this is the automation we set up. We have it triggered one day after the project creates. It just shoots an automated email, basically just saying, "Hey, upload, just complete the tax return organizer. It lives in Smart Vault." Just that little nudge. And I only share this because you could put any type of automation in here, which just is one less thing to remember to do. We use this a lot for our bookkeeping clients, whether we have to reach out for their sales tax, or we have to get any type of information from a client. We have it set on our monthly bookkeeping projects. They're recurring and they're shooting at automated emails. So we don't forget to, because we can't move forward until we get some of that information. We all know. And how I mentioned with the visual tracking. So we have automation, so you could actually have tags show up in Financial Sense. So it makes it visibly more obvious and clear what needs to get done. We can't do anything until we receive the tax return documents. But once that task gets checked off by, let's just say, our admin, it automatically flags a project that the client's info is received. You see the green there, and it's ready for data entry in the purple. So now jumping into step five, I just want to show you how the tool works, so visually how you could understand how it makes it clear for everyone on the team. We have a couple different ways we communicate with the clients. One is going to be the mass communications that we do with these. So we use like a mass communication email tool, so we could send out reminders in the beginning of tax season, bulk reminders to all of our clients, something that would be the same across the board. Hey, these are our deadlines. One thing we like doing, we send out in, I would say, mid November, we send all of our deadlines for internal and for the state or the government. So we say, hey, if you want to work with us, we need your agreement signed by January 1st. If you have a S corp return due, you need to get your stuff, all your documents into Smart Vault before February 1st if you want to be filed by the deadline. If you need extension, so we break all that down clearly to clients in advance, and that's typically solves a lot of your pain points. You start realizing over time that clients don't live in our world. So if we don't communicate clearly to them our deadlines and how to work with us, they don't know. How often does anyone ever have a client come in on April 15th and goes, "Oh, today's the deadline. Here's my stuff." Because they don't realize that we need this stuff 2 weeks before or a month before, whatever your deadline is. But making a clear deadline, I think, is extremely important. Otherwise, clients are going to come after that. Even now, we have clients coming. We have a September 1st deadline for extensions for, because I want about a month and a half to give us some time so I don't stress the team out, stress myself out, and then let the clients down that we overpromise and underdeliver. So we're using these mass communication tools. Just send all those deadlines out so everyone knows. So no one could say, "Oh, hey Nick, here's my stuff last minute." I'm like, "Oh, you saw that email," and we send the same email every year. So I think that's really important to when you're following up with clients. How we do missing data requests. So in the workflow, we have a teammate doing a 1040 return, and we realized the real estate taxes are missing and they forgot to give dependent care expenses. I'm just making up an example. The cool part in our tax software, we're able to actually leave a missing data or flagging of empty field that we need. And we flag as a preparer is going through the return, they're flagging everything. And then through the software, we could just shoot a quick email out to the client, say, hey, we're missing these 4 items. It's great because it's just a time saver, and we have as I mentioned, we have a high volume of clients, so it's really helpful to do it right through the same tool. But you could also do this right through Financial Sense. So if you maybe have less clients or you have more high touch points with a client, you could put it in Financial Sense. And the reason I like that is because you could track the email communications with your clients, and now everyone has visibility when you're using Financial Sense. And another cool part of integrating Financial Sense is it actually, if you see in the screenshot here on the screen, it actually will pull in all the emails for that specific client across your firm. So now everyone who's emailing that client, you could go into the client email section and you could see everyone who's emailing it. So sometimes I'll follow up with the team, say, hey, did you reach out to this client for this open item? But with Financial Sense, you could see it right in there, the date they reached out, and if the client followed up on that email chain, which is a really cool way to get the data. So I think client follow up is really important, and having it tracked. Definitely, as I mentioned from the beginning, phone calls is probably not the best way, unless if you're getting maybe a social security number, but they could also upload the social security numbers securely to Smart Vault. So just throwing that out there. There's a lot of different ways to do our job. It just depends what works for your system. So I'm just sharing different ways, the way we work, but just, yeah. Jumping back to show you the visual. So now here we work through the workflow and we receive the documents. They sent the missing email out to the client and we receive those missing items. When they check that tool off, it automatically goes from data entry to review. So now I know that I'm ready to take this return on. And if you see over on the right hand side, you'll see my image. That's basically my way of I could filter by seeing what projects are ready for me to work on rather than having to ask the team, "Hey, is this ready for me?" The system is designed to eliminate that back and forth, that guesswork. All right, and step 6. So now we finalize the return, we got all the work done. How do we deliver and complete the whole entire project? As I promised, there I have a screenshot of Smart Vault just so you could visually see it if you've never seen it before. It's essentially like having an electronic, extremely organized folder structure. And the thing I love about it, you have everything broken out by year and you have your templated folders. This is how our firm likes using it. As I went through the steps, you see the 2024 tax organizer in the 2024 organizer folder. So once the clients learn where the files are, every year it's the same. We're not changing the process. So it gets easier and easier. Maybe year one for the client, you have to coach them a little bit through it and explain some things. Or if you're changing your legacy firm over like I did to an electronic system, you have to coach your older clients and say, hey, this is our new system. And also, what I love doing is explaining why it actually benefits the client. So I think that's a really important thing. They always could access their stuff 24/7. How many times on the, if, I don't know if anyone's ever gotten a phone call or an email on the weekend and they go, hey, Nick, I'm getting a mortgage. I need 3 years tax returns. And you jump onto your computer to send it out to them or mail it or whatever that's how our process used to be. Now we say, hey, just go into Smart Vault. You have access 24/7. And it's very easy for them to find. Then we have the client source document folders where you see all their that's where the clients upload documents to us so we know where we're looking. And then when the return's completed, we're uploading the 2024 completed return, in this example, obviously, directly into the client tax return folder. So there's a lot less guesswork. It's a lot less lower chances that clients are actually reaching out and saying, hey, Nick, I can't find my tax return. They know the folder structure now and it's not changing. So I think that's a really important thing to do if you don't have a system like that set up. If you're still, I don't know if anyone's still mailing out returns or getting clients mailing in documents. There's a lot of I know we wanna make all clients happy and do a great job but you start realizing, like, once you build out a really great workflow system, you can't serve every single client, especially if they're not really willing to work with you, because it's gonna end up slowing you down, and you're not gonna build a scalable firm. You're always gonna be stuck handling those exceptions. So I highly recommend doing something of the sorts because it's honestly changed my career. When I first started, I was super stressed out. Not saying I never get stressed out now, but this system has severely reduced that, and everyone just has a better experience. Anyway, back in the East. So we get the return uploaded in there. We send our e-signature request directly through our tax software because it's simple for us. We just have a one-click send, and then we get notified when they sign it. You could also do e-signature requests directly through Smart Vault, so that's an option if your software doesn't do it that way. So I know a lot of people use it right through Smart Vault. And then just setting the expectations. I think I made it pretty clear, but I think letting communicating to the client that the documents are going to be in Smart Vault and they're always going to be there. It avoids questions down the road. The more they go in there and use the tool, the easier it becomes. And it just reinforces a consistent professional experience. If everyone's getting the same exact process, there's no questions. I think so here's just as we go through the workflow so everyone knows where the project lies. Now we sent the e-signature request and this return's ready to submit. Once they e-sign, we're going to e-file that return and then upload a final tax return into SmartBall just if any changes got made for whatever reason. And then we close and then that project gets closed out. So that's why I really like this tool. You see the tags are automatically updating at the top, makes it very easy, much better than my paper Excel worksheet back in 2016. And then last but not least, step 7, what we do is once we complete a tax return, what we do is we automatically send an email to all of our clients when we complete, and we thank them for working with us this season, and then we ask for a Google review to let us know about their experience and ask for feedback. I think asking for feedback is really important. You see the screenshot there. That's our firm. We have 685 Google reviews, whether you think that's a lot or a little, but around my area, we have one of the highest Google reviews. I think the highest, and we constantly are getting new clients reaching out because like what found you on Google, it helps build proof that you have a legitimate firm, and it's just like a nice, easy way to get those reviews and build your reputation. If that's depending where you are in your firm, if you're trying to grow or you're just getting started, getting those reviews really makes a big difference. And then I would say strategically offboarding non-compliant clients is probably one of the hardest things to do as a firm owner because naturally, when I first started, I took wanted to take every client, make money, but then you started burning out and dealing with really difficult clients who refuse to work with your processes, and you're working late night weekends because they're missing your deadlines and sometimes adding a lot more work on your plate than you probably want to. And when you define this workflow, which clearly our firm has, we start identifying clients who are really resistant to change because everyone's like, well, what about my mom or what about my cousin? Sometimes you're going to make exceptions to the rule, but once you have a defined method, you'll start realizing those exceptions start feeling more like outliers because when everyone's on one system, you're going to be so efficient and everyone's have such a good experience. Those one outliers start becoming even more difficult because all your systems are designed to handle one type of workflow. So regardless of where you are, I've gotten to the point where in a nice way, will let go a client if they're not willing to work with us. They say, "Hey, I don't want to use Smart Vault. I don't want to upload to their portal. I want to come in. I want to drop off paper." And I say, "Hey, maybe you're not. Maybe our firm and you are going in different directions, and maybe we have to part ways." A lot of times clients are confused. They don't know how to use a tool, and we're more than willing to educate them and show them how to use it. And then they end up thanking me. This tax season, so many clients are like, "I'm a dinosaur. I don't know how to use that." I show them how to use it, and now they're like, "Oh my god, this is so much better than coming into your office." I only bring that up because it's the communication thing and the education. Sometimes we don't take the time to explain to the clients why we're making the change, and if they just absolutely refuse, I feel like you have to let them go because that's going to prevent you from getting the better new client relationship that might be inbound, but you're too stressed out helping a client who's non-compliant. So hopefully maybe that resonates with some of you. I know that's been a game changer for my firm is being willing to let go of not good fits. And then when it comes to ongoing and re-engagement, tax season ends, we don't stop. We're reaching out to clients. Maybe they have a Schedule C. They're don't doing their own bookkeeping. And we say, hey, just so you know, we offer bookkeeping because a lot of times clients are like, I didn't even realize you offer bookkeeping. So I went to another firm and they're doing my bookkeeping. You're doing my taxes, doing advisory. We're always shooting out emails in the summer. Say, hey, do you, any major changes? You want to jump on an advisory call? Obviously, doing extensions. I think a really important point is prior year filings. We have a a rule now that during tax season, this upcoming tax season, we'll only be working on 2025 returns. So if someone comes to us and say, "Hey Nick, I never filed 24. Can you do 24 and 25?" We'll tell them, "Hey, it's going to have to happen after tax season." So I think having some of those standards and process is really important just to protecting your time. But then after tax season ends, we'll follow up with them and say, hey, we could file those 2 years returns you're behind or 5 years returns you're behind. Do that QuickBook cleanup, but don't do those odds and ends during your busiest time because that's really sucks your team down and it stresses them out during the busiest time and just doing catch up and things like that. So I'm going to actually launch another poll and I just want to see let me see if this goes. So, which of this 7-step workflows do you want to improve next? Because obviously, there's a lot. Depending where you are in your journey, it's going to be really hard to do all of this at the same time. It's going to be probably impossible to do everything all at the same time. This has taken me years to build out this workflow, and we're still fine tuning. We're still working on it. We're still educating our clients on how to make change and how we've evolved. Unfortunately, I was only allowed to have 6 choices. So if offboarding or ongoing engagement was your top, unfortunately, I couldn't put that in there, so I'm sorry. Thanks for participating. It shows that everyone's active and listening and client intake. I would say right now I'm seeing that client intake and initial touch is one, and then workflow and task assignments is in second. So hopefully some of the little tips I shared could help your firm. I mean, it's definitely changed me for the better. And I'll leave this open for 10 more seconds. But yeah, I would say the majority is the client intake. Onboarding is so important as you're evolving your firm. It's a lot harder to change an older client onto your newer system, but it's really easy to let your new clients know how you want to work with them. Great. Thanks everyone for participating. I'm going to close the poll. See a few more coming in. All right, maybe I'll leave this open for a second because I see a lot of people uh, still voting. And again, I really appreciate the responses. It shows that you're there, and I'm excited to be sharing this because it has really been life changing for me and my firm. All right, I'm going to close it and we'll move on. Thank you. So as I went through the 7-step framework, I was primarily talking about just a tax return. And as I mentioned, this workflow could work for all of your different services. So if you don't do taxes, don't think this session was not for me, because I we use this with bookkeeping. I actually think it's even more valuable with a bookkeeping client because these projects are recurring monthly for us. Every month we're doing bookkeeping for about 200 different clients, and they all have unique needs. Some of our clients have payroll and we have to tie out the payroll. Some of them have sales tax filing. Some of them might have in New Jersey we have a urban enterprise zone sales tax that's taxed at a lower rate. And it's the reason I bring that up is because in the past, before Financial Sense, all those unique one-offs, I just did it myself because it didn't make sense for me to teach the team because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to spend all this time to teach them this one unique thing. I'll just do it myself. And then because a team member, I would teach them and they might leave, and now I have to teach someone new. So I'm like, I'll just do it myself. But then I started realizing when those monthly recurring projects were getting completed by the team, I was like, wow, there's a lot of one-offs that I have to handle myself. And Financial Sense really has been life changing for me because actually allows me to step away. So I'm actually going on vacation tomorrow. I'm going to Europe, so I'm excited. But even without me here, my team will be able to do everything without me because all the projects are assigned to who's responsible for them, what needs to get done. And you see the screenshot here, whether it's the monthly bookkeeping, a tax return, if you're doing payroll, we have an onboarding project in there. So it's just a clear way to define everything that needs to get done within your firm, and I could actually step away and enjoy my vacation. Not like when I get back, I have nothing to do, but projects don't get held up. And I love it for bookkeeping for those one-off exceptions. What I actually do is before Financial Sense, and I'd have a new hire, I would sit down with them side by side. I'd show them how to do bookkeeping. I'd show them how to do this specific client and that specific client, which was great. But then if they left for whatever reason, now we have someone new come in. I would sit down with that person. I would do the training with them. And I realized it was bogging down my time teaching the team. I know the team is super powerful and helps you get a lot of work done, but training is a lot of time. So now what I do is I Loom record. If you've never heard of Loom, it's just a screen recorder. And as I train them, I Loom the process saying, this is how we do these projects or these tasks, and I embed the Loom video directly into the project. So now a new hire could come in and they barely even have to talk with me. They could look at the steps as we showed you before, the clearly identified steps, and then they could go into the task and see the Loom video and watch exactly how it's done. It's really valuable with a monthly project that might recur, and then over time, the team members might say, hey, I'm going to watch this 1 or 2 times, and then they have it under their belt. But then it's really valuable for a yearly project. Hey, a year end reconciliation, year end tie outs, year end adjustments. Those are things that they probably will forget because they're not doing it so often. But having that Loom video is even more valuable. So you could see how the tool could be really beneficial for yearly projects as well as recurring monthly projects and one off projects. So I think this really allowed my firm to scale and really allowed me to step away, which is tying it back to the balanced CPA, is my passion is to travel. So when I first started, I took 0 vacation days. That has drastically changed. I take a lot of vacation. Not saying I don't work a lot, but just throwing that out there that if that's one of your goals, I think you should I think you should highly consider it. And I think I touched on it, but Smart Vault the tools that power it all were clearly Smart Vault and Financial Sense have been an absolute game changer for me. And I don't think I have to go through all this again, but this organized documents, just anything that could reduce my time, the automation of creating the folders, Financial Sense tracking all of our projects, assigning the tasks, automating client reminders. Also, one thing I actually didn't even get the chance to mention is in Financial Sense, there's an internal team chat. So now when the team is working on client ABC, they don't have to shoot me an email and say, "Hey, Nick, I'm working on client ABC and this month and this task." They just go right into the task, put a little chat, and then I know exactly what task they're flagging. So it just saves them time on communications. And then the billing automation tool. Let's make sure we're not working on clients and not getting paid. We're making it clear upfront what they owe us, and not moving forward and wasting our time working on clients who don't want to pay us. And all that stuff, all these things integrate, which is really great. And real quick, just some real world examples, just so you see that all this is not theory. It's actually what I've done. When I first started, our firm was doing about 600,000 and we more than doubled our firm. So I'm pretty proud of that. And I would say we doubled it. And more importantly, is that the team and the client satisfaction has gone up as well. It's not like we made more money and sacrificed here and there. We really made everything grow together. And yeah, I'm just really proud. So hopefully some of these takeaways you could use in your own firm. Again, you're gonna get the blueprint for the 7-step checklist. So I highly recommend that's gonna be emailed to you. Save it, go through it, and maybe identify just one or two steps that you're like, hey, I really need to work on this, and this will really change my firm. Look at your biggest pain points and start there. Doing everything at once is gonna be overwhelming. So don't try to do it all because that's what I did. Super stressful. Don't recommend it. And then also, if you wanted to book a free consultation with either Financial Sense or Smart Vault, the links are there. So I highly recommend checking it out. If any of them interest you, you get a free demo. And even with Financial Sense, they're going to give you 10% off one of the annual plans. So I highly recommend just showing it because in 1 hour, I can only do so much. So I highly recommend checking it out and seeing for yourself. And as we're wrapping up, sorry I went a little. I wanted to save 10 minutes. We have time for questions. Just wanted to do some Q&A, so I'm going to go through your questions. I have my e-business cards. What I really recommend if you want to connect with me, I think the best way is LinkedIn to reach out to me. But I always love when people share success stories or pain points. Again, my passion really is to help other people because I've been through it. So I would love when people connect with me. So I'm going to see in the Q&A section. So someone asked what program I use to send mass emails. We use Levitate. So there, I know there's a bunch of, and again, these are just the tools I use, but Levitate is a great tool. Let's see how I close this. Hopefully you're listening. Um, the tax program I actually use the Intuit's Lacert. I see Darlene. I have elderly clients who do not have access to a computer. What would you recommend? Great question. We have clients in the same situation. And what we actually did this tax season that worked very well is we implemented a paper drop-off fee. So whether it be $50 or $100, whatever works for you. And we told the clients, so they said, hey, this is our system and you've been a long time client and we don't want to lose your business. But just realize that getting your papers, all this stuff slows us down. So we have to have our admin or one of our team members scan and move your documents. So for the additional administrative time, we have to charge this additional fee. And we had zero pushback. So I think it's a really great way, depending where you're at. Some people are like, hey, well, you can't be a client. That's an option, which obviously I wouldn't recommend. But if you're willing to add the fee on, and it kind of offsets the extra time spent. So I think that's a good strategy that worked for us. I'm gonna keep going through here. Walida asks, I'm a bookkeeper. I use QuickBooks and Ramp. Does SmartVault connect with these, or is there something that's standalone? So SmartVault does connect with QuickBooks. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Ramp system, so I'm not going to speak to that. Chris said, can Financial Sense do? Oh, that's already answered. Okay, great question by John. Pre-invoices creates a possible risk that You do not charge enough. How do you handle that? So great question. I get it all the time. And that was one of the main reasons we never switched to the prepay model. Because what if something changed? We make it clear when we send out the agreements. We're like, hey, this was your fee last year. We're going to honor it. And if that's what you want to do, or if you want to do increases, that's up to you. But we say we're going to charge you the same as last year. But we put a note, if there's any major changes, we might have to bill you extra for that additional service. And we've had zero pushback. A common example would be we get a client, we charged them $500 last year, and this year they have a business, or this year they have a rental property. So what I do, I shoot them an email, say, "Hey, just so you know, since you have this business, it's going to be an extra $500." So we send that out direct right through our system, and all that they have to do is approve it. So it makes it very easy for them to pay that additional fee. So great question there. All right, so I'm just reading through the questions. Um, So, Nicole, I'm just starting and I only have one tax client and three bookkeeping clients. Smart Vault isn't for me until I grow, or do you suggest anything else for a secure portal? I think it's a great question, and even kind of tying that into financial sense, a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, I'm a sole firm owner. Do I really need a workflow management tool?" But if your goal is to grow, building out these processes from day one is actually going to save you a lot in the long run. You have to offset the cost benefit, but I do think setting it up from the beginning and having your process in place, it's going to make onboarding new clients, especially if you use our like something similar to our process. If you do that a regular onboarding, you're going to realize as you start growing and people start leaving you reviews and you start getting an influx of clients, you already have a great process in place. So I would recommend checking it out. At least do the demo if you haven't to determine if it's for you. But I absolutely love it. And I think if I my only regret is not implementing these things sooner, honestly. It sounds a bit like so Stephanie's saying it's a sound like a bit like Dext and Smartball has some similarities. Our firm is just starting to use Financial Sense and is looking into Dext to help with input. Any comments? Unfortunately, I don't have any. I'm not familiar with Dext, so sorry, I can't chime in on that one. I think that's all the open questions. Alex or Tosin, let me know if I missed anything. But yeah, keep the questions coming in because we have like 2 more minutes here, so I'll try to answer as much as I can. Hopefully, this is helpful. Oh, so Nick wrote a question. When we create Smart Vault account before the Lacert account, they sometimes run into duplicate accounts or accounts that don't sync. So the way we actually have a workaround is we make that temporary folder, and think of an idea that works best for you, but we put all of our clients in Lacert as uppercase, like all capitals. But when we make a temporary folder, we keep them all lowercase. We don't have a client ID number that doesn't automatically sync. When you sync it with Lacert, it puts in the client ID number. So what we actually do, we make a temporary folder because we're making the smart vault folders before we know the clients are working with us, and then and then once they work with us and a permanent folder gets created, we just merge the files over. So that's what works best for us. So I see another question right on the screen. How long have you been using Financial Sense? I want to say this, we're going on our third year using Financial Sense, and it's been definitely it's one of those implementations that it's a lot in the sense that you're basically taking all of your processes and putting into a software. So it's not going to be happen overnight. So we actually did it in phases. We did all of our bookkeeping in Financial Sense first, and then we did all of our tax, and now we had all of our one-off exceptions and deadlines into Financial Sense. So hopefully that shares that in 3 years it's been really a game changer. Do your clients get confused at all since they're getting messages, emails from two different softwares? Great question. Actually, we haven't had any clients. I would say more of our tech savvy ones will answer from either or because they know that it's coming from two different systems. And yeah, I don't think that's too much of an issue with clients. They don't really get confused. They don't have an extra login, which makes it easy. We have 7 staff at our firm, so it's me, my partner, and my brother, and we have 5 employees, and then we have 1 part-timer in tax season. Is there a good solution for year-end report adjustments instead of case where they'll give you a list of adjustments you've made, where you don't have access to the books? Sorry, that is not I don't think I would be I can't answer that one. How do you like the reporting tools on Financial Sense, production, etc.? We don't use them. I know a lot of other firms that do, and they track time, so I think it's a really good tool. Our firm doesn't use those tools, but if that's something you want to implement, it's an awesome tool. And again, these softwares do so many things. Don't be bogged down if you don't use them all. Oh, do clients get confused between doc requests from Financial Sense versus Smart Vault? Um, again, I think that's similar to the question before. They don't get confused. I think they get sometimes maybe they don't respond to all of our emails, but I think that's been an issue just depending on the client. So we'll do different ways to reach out to them, but they have responded to both of their requests. I think we're coming up on time. I don't want to keep everyone late, so I'm just gonna kind of wrap it up. If I missed anything, reach out to me, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Happy to help. But hopefully this was helpful. Again, sorry for being in a minute over. I lost track of time, but I hope everyone enjoyed the webinar and I hope you have a great day.